there is probably one thing that we do not like about reading books, it would be losing interest in a book. What do you do when you are halfway into a book and then you lose interest? How do you continue reading, or what do you do about this situation? In today's video, I have 5 tips that can help you out if you start to lose interest in a book. Hi there, I'm Manpreet. I make book related videos on this channel. For more videos, please make sure you subscribe, follow me on my social media, and turn your notifications on. And now let's get started with the 5 tips that I have to share with you today. Number 1, take a break. It could really be possible that the reason you are losing interest is not because of the book, but only because you are tired. It could happen that we are reading because of a schedule, or because of a challenge, or because of something we have decided previously, but at this moment you really do not want to read. And as I discussed in one of my latest videos on why it's okay to not read, I would say if you do not feel like reading, then you should totally take a break and give yourself time to rejuvenate so that you can get back to reading while you're liking the whole activity and not just as something you are forcing upon yourself. Number 2, ask yourself if you want to DNF the book. DNF means do not finish. Now, a lot of us pressurize ourselves into having to finish a book. We feel like if we have started or if we have read 50% of the book, we must finish it. Now, I totally understand the feelings and the emotions behind it, and I have struggled with those emotions for a long time, but trust me, you would be better off DNFing the books that you're not liking, that you do not want to actually finish, than forcing yourself. It's because there are so many books out there in the world, and there are so many good books, so you do not need to be spending time on books that are maybe not good, that are maybe not your type, or that are maybe not for you. You can always put down that book and try to find something that fits you, that is meant for you. As a reader, I have come across many books that have not been written properly. I mean, I have read books with like basically no grammar in them, and you'll be like, Manpreet, how can somebody write a book with no grammar? Exactly. I have read books which have insane amount of mistakes, or which are not edited well, which are not well built, the plot is not good, or which are just outright boring, and even the books which make no sense. You're like, Manpreet, how come you are so experienced with these kind of books? Try reading books by self-published Indian authors. You will also get a good experience with these kind of books. And honestly, it's not just with self-publishing or with Indian authors. There could be books that are just not meant for you, that do not make any kind of sense to you. In those cases, you should definitely go ahead and DNF the book and move on to some other book. My next 3 tips are for the people who want to continue, who have given a solid thought into DNFing the book and they have decided that they want to continue. So one thing you could do is read a few pages at a time. Instead of trying to read 50 pages at a time and then feeling insanely bored, you could try to read 5 to 10 pages at a time. And honestly, one of the major reasons why you could lose interest in a perfectly good book could be you are struggling with the language, or you are struggling with the plot. For example, if you're reading something chunky like Game of Thrones, and George R.R. Martin has this way of going deep into descriptions, and I remember I was reading The Clash of Kings, and there is this journey Theon Greyjoy goes on, and you feel like you are forever stuck in that place, forever stuck in that journey in the sea, and it's really boring. Okay, you definitely start to lose interest in that book at that point. The only way to continue is that you should read a few pages at a time, probably no more than 5 pages at a time, and that way you'll be able to slowly progress through the book. My number 4 point would be to support this, that is, read more than 1 book at a time. Now, I always say that you should try to read at least for an hour, or at least 50 pages a day, or 100 pages a day, but if I am suggesting you to read only 5 pages a day or 5 pages at a time, then how are you supposed to, meet your reading quota? For that, and also because you have started to lose interest in this book, you should try to read more than 1 book at a time. I do have a video on how I read more than 1 book at a time. I shared my tips on how it's possible to do it. So you should definitely check out this video after watching this one. I'll put it down below in the description or up in the I button. Now, what reading more than 1 book at a time does to you is that Now that you have lost interest in this book, okay, you started with your first chunky book, which is kind of boring to you right now. You read a few pages, and now when you're losing interest, maybe it happens at page 3, page 5, or page 15, doesn't matter. Whenever it happens, you switch to the other book. Every time you sit down to read, you pick up the boring book first, you read a few pages as much as you can, put a minimum cap like of 5 pages, and then read as much as you can. And once you feel bored, switch to the other book, which is more interesting. In this way, you'll be slowly able to progress through it. And honestly, for me, it happens with thrillers sometimes. I'm reading the book and I'm like, now I'm bored, the plot is not progressing, but you never know, just after a few pages you will not be able to put down the book. So you have to make that journey through that boring patch, and these steps can really help you do that. This is something which has helped me to get through the boring patches in thriller novels and in novels which I have eventually ended up loving. Even with the Mortal Instruments series that you can see over there, there are boring patches, and once you go through them, you are like, oh my god, I cannot even like imagine how I was thinking of not reading this book at all. This is so awesome. But I would not have thought that if I hadn't continued and if I hadn't been able to get over that boring patch. So I hope these tips help. But before you go, I have one more tip for you, and that is make a schedule to read. This is something I normally suggest everybody in general who wants to read more, but it is even more important with this because once you are bored with a book, right, you do not want to pick up a book and read. It has happened to me so many times. I have like spent a week or more than week without reading any book, and even a month without even picking a book. And it's not because I do not want to read, it's because I do not want to go to that boring book and flip that next page. And I'm assuming if it happens with me, if I can procrastinate reading altogether because of a boring book that I have lost interest in, it can happen to you too. And the only way to get over it is to make a schedule to read, follow all of those tips, and also make a schedule to read. If you're not going to have a schedule to read, right, then you would not be able to follow any of the tips that I've shared in this video, because you would not be wanting to go through those 5 pages or even picking up a book. But if it's in your schedule that this is the time when you need to read, you will pick up a book. It could be the one that is boring for you, or it could be the one that is interesting to you. But if you follow all of these tips all together, it will help you make your way through that book, and it will help you find your interest again in reading in the books itself. And I hope these tips help you out and help you make your way through such kind of books. If you think these will help you out, please make sure you hit a thumbs up, and also comment down below with any tips you have that have helped you to make your way through boring books. And just to clarify, not every book that you have lost interest in is actually boring. It could be a topic that you're not interested in, or it could be the language that is the problem with you, or it could be the writing style that is the problem. So it's not always a case of boring books. When it comes to losing interest in a book, it could be like due to a lot of different reasons. Just wanted to clarify this because I think I have used the word boring quite too many times in this video, and just wanted to say that it doesn't necessarily mean that the book is boring. That's why you have lost interest. And yes, with this, thank you so much for watching this video. In case you like my videos and you want to support this channel, please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so that your notifications are on. That really helps to support my channel, and thank you so much for that. This is Manpi signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.